They're saying they're going to take white people's money and give it to black people.
Right.
I don't know why it took me so long to get it, but that's spreading the wealth that McCain keeps saying. I was like, what is he talking about? Remember what the facts are. The facts are,
right now, everybody's so pinched that business is bad for everybody. And I think when you spread the wealth around, it's good for everybody.
And that any health care funding plan that is just, equitable, civilized, and humane must redistribute wealth from the richer among us to the poor and the less fortunate.
Are you then calling for the redistribution of wealth in society?
Absolutely, without any hesitation. That's what the gospel is all about.
Generally speaking, we get the joke. We know that the free market is nonsense. We kind of agree with Mao that political power comes largely from the barrel of a gun.
Workers of the world unite. It's not just a slogan anymore. It's a way we're going to have to do our work.
But the dream was not to put one black family in the White House. The dream was to make everything equal in everybody's house.
I think that there was a tendency to lose track of the political and community organizing and activities on the ground that are able to put together the actual coalitions of power through which you bring about redistributive change. And in some ways, we still suffer from that.
Because we have been guided by a Republican administration who believes in this simplistic notion that people who have wealth are entitled to keep it, and they have an antipathy towards the means of redistributing wealth.
You state up front that your starting point is, quote, no-nonsense Marxism, unquote. But you dispel all the negative images we have been programmed to conjure up with just the mention of that word socialism or Marxism.
When it gets out of whack, as it did in the 20s and it has now, you need to do some redistribution. This is a form of redistribution. Definitely. If you redistribute too much, then the system doesn't work because you take the incentive out of it. So it's like a machine. You've always got to tune it right.
What about making that tax? The rich are not paying their fair share in any way.
And guess what this liberal will be all about? This liberal will be all about socializing, will be about basically taking over and the government running all of your companies.
I mean, I do think at a certain point you've made enough money.
Sounds like scary stuff to me. And then again, other parts of it sounds ridiculous. You know, if you have an idea that you cling to and that you embrace, that's okay with me. Let's pretend that you like socialism and that you want to embrace socialism. That's fine. That's fine. The idea behind, the concept behind spread the wealth and having the government take over other companies and run those companies and basically have all of the people working in the end for the government. Now, of course, the other side of that, no, you're not going to work for the government. You're working for the common good of the people. Well, we're going to study that this week, folks. A lot of people do not know what socialism is. A lot of people don't know what capitalism is. And we are going to study it. We're going to take this week and find out together what the concepts really mean. And that way, we're all going to be informed as to which side we choose. Do we choose the side of, quote, spread the wealth? Or rather, socialism? Or do we choose capitalism and free market society? We're going to take our information and talk about each side from a debate called This House Believes That Capitalism is Better Than Socialism. And we're getting this from idebate.org. That's www.idebate.org. It focuses on some of the disagreements between capitalist and socialist. Now, the debate is carried out in a loose general framework between these two viewpoints and illustrates several of the most common propositional and counterarguments in the discourse. The core of the capitalist doctrine being defined as the belief that the means of production and distribution should be owned privately in order to gain profit, where private ownership and free enterprise are believed to lead to more efficiency, lower prices, better products, and rising prosperity for everyone. Socialism will be stipulated as a theory which advocates that ownership and control of the means of production should belong to the community for the common good. Should belong to the community for the common good. where under these premises the community is assumed to be both more just and humane. Now what that means to me, folks, is that there is a mindset that a community of people will care more about me than the capitalist. And we're going to discuss all of that. We're going to discuss why there is a notion that the quote community will care more versus the capitalist caring more. Just as many people over here on the capitalist side believe that capitalism cares also. It cares about profit. But the idea behind caring about profit leads to a better community, higher standards, higher achievements, more freedom. We're going to discuss all of that. The 20th century has been marked by fierce debates challenging or justifying the validity of capitalism. World powers have disagreed and still disagree about the benefits and drawbacks of the system, and the dispute's considerable consequences can, amongst others, be felt through the relics of the Cold War. According to many, the question was settled with the dismantlement of the Soviet Union in the late 1980s. It ostensibly seemed that the capitalist system had proven its victory over socialism when compared to the economic failures and horrors of the former Soviet countries. However, despite a dip in interest during the late 80s and 90s, the debate has not lost its relevance and was vividly revived in the 2008 financial crisis. Due to the crisis' severe consequences of mass unemployment, there has been a renewed urge in questioning the validity of the Western capitalist economic system. All of these things are the ideas behind the debate of capitalism versus socialism. We're going to pick a few bullet points and talk about them this week, giving us all enough education where we can sit back and decide for ourselves whether we want capitalism or socialism. One of the ideas is the idea of the market determining the price of products and services. Also, the idea that each person has a right to private property. There's a dispute right there. The idea that each person has a right to private property. We're going to discuss that. We're going to find out more about it. We're going to find out what the thinking is behind that. Also, the notion that capitalism enhances personal freedom. We'll find out what the thought process is behind that, and why someone would even come up with such a notion. The notion that capitalism enhances personal freedom. Let's find out why. You may like what you find out. Also, the notion of incentive in the form of profit benefiting society as a whole. The notion of incentive in the form of profit benefiting society as a whole. Wonderful concepts, folks. The last part of this debate is going to be in the form of a question, and that is there a conspiracy set into place to force the world into socialism? If so, who's behind it? We're going to discuss all of these things this week, folks. I hope you come on board. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be extremely thought-provoking, and we are going to give information from both sides. And I want everyone to come onto the forum at TomZom.com and add their 2 cents. If you like socialism, if you think you like socialism, if you think you're going to like the idea of sharing the wealth, come on here and tell us why. Don't just tell us how stupid you think we are. I don't want to hear that. I don't want someone pointing to me going, well, because your way is stupid, that's why. You're stupid, and then they follow up with a bunch of expletives and curse words and ugliness, and they look at you and point and scoff. You're stupid! And you never get anything out of them. They won't even give you a reason as to why they embrace their concept. All they know is that you're stupid for not embracing it. As far as I'm concerned, folks, a person can embrace whatever concept they want, but back it up with some information. Back it up with where you stand. Back it up with why you're attracted to that concept. Why that concept speaks to you and causes you to want to act on it. If you have a reason, even if I vehemently disagree with it, if you have a reason, hey, that's your thing. Do it. You'll get nothing but respect from me. But don't disrespect my choice in what I believe simply because you want to be ugly and point and say how stupid you think I am. Back it up. And you don't have to be ugly to me when backing it up either. All you have to do is tell your side of the story. In the end, we may disagree, and that's fine. We can disagree. That's what this country's all about. We're free. We can disagree with each other. We should be able to disagree with one another and still remain friends. That's how it should be. Do we have the wherewithal inside of us to do that? Well, do we? Put it all down at TomZom.com, folks. I look forward to hearing from each and every one of you this week. It's going to be a great educational experience for me. I can't wait. Tune in tomorrow for the first of the series, where we talk about the idea of the market determining the price of products and services. See you tomorrow, folks. Thanks for tuning in.